Everybody, welcome to the brand new Laravel News interview podcast slash video. And we have our first guest here today, Daniel Coulbourne. Did I say that right?
Yeah, that's how it's said. How you doing?
Good. So you just, well, actually, I guess go ahead and introduce yourselves in case anybody doesn't know you in the community already.
Yeah, I'm Daniel. I'm one of the co-founders of Thunk, which is a little Laravel consulting shop. I'm sort of in the middle of speaking at all the Laracons, and so we're actually here in the middle of my journey home to Asheville from Laracon, India. So I had like a little 5-hour layover in Charlotte, and so I hit you up and I said, "Hey, you want to hang out?" And so here we are.
Yes. So this is a brand new podcasting studio here, and this will be the first time I've actually got to sit down with another Laravel developer and do like a podcast in person,
Dude,
which is kind of neat.
The studio is awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
It's amazing.
So we're at Alchemy Co-working in downtown Gastonia, North Carolina.
Gastonia.
The big town just outside of Charlotte. But I figured this would be fun. Sit down face to face, not on Zoom, not on anything that we would normally do. So my first thing is Thunk Dev. How did you come up with the name?
Okay. So we wanted it's like so arbitrary, but we wanted a one syllable name that was like non-negotiable. One syllable. We thought about lump. I really like the short U sound, like from Ugmonk. You know, Ugmonk.
right.
They make like desk trays and sort of like physical goods. So I really like the short U sound, and so I was like lump. I was really excited to have an announcement tweet where he said we were doing some self-examination and we found it a lump. But ultimately we decided that Thunk works because like what we're selling is kind of thinking,
Right.
and also we have, like there is a concept in functional programming called a thunk. So it's got a little bit of like an engineering tie-in, and I don't know, and it's also just a very satisfying
Thunk.
You know?
Yes, I like it. Well, lump. I always think of that song, from the '90s. It's lump. It's lump.
Is that Presidents of the United States?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
They had the Peaches song too. Remember that? Yes, that's awesome. So you just flew home from India. How long was that flight?
I don't even know. I honestly can't even tell. So I had like a 2-hour flight, and then 2 hours of going through security 3 times in Delhi, and then a 15-hour flight, and then that got me to JFK, and then I just had the flight from JFK to Charlotte, which was another 2 hours. So I've been in airports for a while. Airports and airplanes.
That's awesome. So how was India overall? Was it as energetic as they make it seem?
Dude,
on
it was
Twitter and everything else?
It was insane. I mean, like, so just like, first of all, these guys love like EDM, like
really
so much. And so I have a video. I haven't posted it. Maybe I'll like put it on Twitter or something. But I have this video of like right before the conference started, Frake from Spotsy gave the first talk. Right before Frake goes on, there's like a countdown going down. It's like 2 minutes, 1 minute, whatever. And there's this music playing that's just like the most intense, like 4 a.m. sweaty dubstep of all time. And it's just like a room full of like 1,000 Indian developers, and they're all just like, just kind of sitting there waiting for the conference to start. But yeah, no, they go hard.
Yes.
They go hard.
I remember the one last year. Remember they had Taylor up in the air, like floating around. And
yeah, I think they all respected the fact that we had some stomach issues, so none of us were physically thrown around.
That's awesome. So this was the second year of the Laracon India, right? Is this your first year going? Or
this is my first year going. I think there might have actually been 2 before this. I could be wrong, but yeah, this is my first year.
Gotcha. And on that conference topic, so you did the whole Grand Slam this year, right?
So I haven't yet spoken at US, but I'm speaking at US in August. So once I speak at US, I will have completed the Grand Slam, which is I did Australia in November, I did Europe last month, I did India this month, and US in August.
Yeah, that's amazing.
World tour.
Yes. What about the Portugal? Isn't there one in Portugal now?
Europe was in Portugal
Okay, maybe
last
that's
year,
the one I was thinking of.
but
yes.
it's returned home to Amsterdam.
Okay,
yeah.
So that's where I was getting confused. I didn't know if they had two separate ones, one in Portugal and one in Amsterdam.
No, I don't think so.
Gotcha. And so, what was your talk this year on or about?
So the one I gave in Europe, and then I gave sort of a variation of that in India. So in Australia, I launched Verbs. So Verbs is kind of this event sourcing package that we built at Thunk with the help of my buddy Chris Morrell, who you probably have run into on Twitter. So I launched Verbs in Australia and like launched it on stage. Live coding disaster. The video's out there of me totally messing up my live coding on stage. It's hilarious. I had to delete some tests live on stage because they didn't work. And then in Europe, I wanted to just kind of like tell this story of like the project that got me interested in event sourcing. And so it's this story of the sort of like big heroic database schema refactor on like millions and millions of rows of data that I did when I worked with Chris at Internachi. And so this is a project that he and I did together, and it got us both like really interested in event sourcing. And so then like for years we've been talking about like I remember I went up to Philly on a trip with my family on like a vacation or whatever. And I got coffee with Chris, and we ended up just like sitting on like a stump somewhere talking about, man, we should really make an event sourcing package, you know? And so eventually, like years later, we made this event sourcing package. We've put a ton of like work and thought and opinion and vibe into it. And I think it like feels really good. But all of that was sort of born out of like this project that we did where we both kind of like fell in love with the concept of event sourcing and like had the little like light bulb moment of like, oh,
I was gonna say, so what's like the 20-second sales pitch on why you would want to use event sourcing?
Sure. So I guess quick definition for the people who don't even know what the hell event sourcing is. Yeah. So event sourcing is just like my definition of it, and the one I use in my talk is deriving the state of the world from from a record of what happened, right? And so like, you know, the current state of the world might be that I have like 4 apples in this basket and 5 oranges in this basket, right? Mm-hmm. And the way that got there is that I added 2 apples to this basket, then I added 3 apples to this basket, then I added 4 oranges to this basket, you know? And so it's like these events of things that happened lead to a current state of the world.
So almost kind of like an audit log as it goes up.
Right, but it's a kind of the opposite of an audit log.
Okay.
In that like in an audit log, you make the change and then you store a log of that change, right? In this case, you store an event, and then as a byproduct of that event, you might make a change to a model, or you might make something else. But like the event is the primary thing, right. And then editing your models or sending an email or doing whatever is sort of like a downstream effect of that event.
You got real interested in that, and that's how you came out with Verbs?
Yeah, and so Verbs is just sort of like, you know, there are other solutions out there. Spotsy has a package. Frank de Jong has his package. And like, they're all sort of like, so event sourcing has been widely adopted by like kind of the DDD crowd, the domain-driven design crowd. And I'm like not a big DDD guy. And so I was like, well, I think this technique of event sourcing is really powerful. But it's all kind of tied up in these like DDD concepts and words, and it's a little off-putting to people. Like I've tried to like explain it to clients and stuff as I was trying to work on their project and be like, hey, here's the technique I want to use. And it's a little off-putting. And so we really wanted to like make it more accessible to just sort of your average Laravel developer.
Nice.
And so we got rid of a bunch of the jargon. We renamed some things. We took a couple of discrete concepts and smooshed them together into a single concept. So yeah, we've just tried to make it as like Zonda as possible.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so like say like I've never used event sourcing before in my life, but say I want to start trying it out.
Yeah.
Like, is a certain app really suitable for it, or can you kind of just do it with anything?
You can do it. You can event source any app. Any app can be event sourced. There are apps for which it's like, I think like definitely a really good idea. And also one of the goals with Verbs is that you can sort of sneak it into your apps like little by little.
Oh, nice.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think anytime you care about an audit log, event sourcing is an easy solution to that. In fact, one of the things we announced at Laracon India is a secondary package called Verbs History, where basically any model in your app that is event sourced, you can just like get history for free. So that's coming out this week, actually. And so it comes with a blade component that you can literally just
Laravel News exclusive.
Laravel News exclusive. But yeah, like it comes with a blade component. You can just drop the blade component and you get history on your user or your post or whatever, everything that happens. So that's cool. Anytime you care about, so like an example I always give is like churn is really interesting. So it's like, say you have like a user subscribed event and a user canceled event. It's really easy for you to know your churn over a certain period of time because you can just say, show me all the user subscribed events, all the user canceled events within this period, and like there's your churn numbers, right?
Yeah, that's sweet. And I just keep coming back to like invoices and orders and things like that.
Well,
to me, that like seems like order state, history of like.
Well, and that's, I mean, like, the smell to me is always, do you have a status column? Right? Do you have a column with like 100 statuses where it's like pending, approved, declined, canceled? There's like 3 different states that mean like not active,
Yes.
Canceled, declined, whatever.
If you have 10 enums, you probably need this factor.
Right. And then there's like the next step where you're like, oh, I got a little smarter. I don't use the status column anymore. Now I have a column called approved at, and another column called denied at, and another column called canceled at. So now you've got like 50 timestamps in your model. If you have either of those, chances are you're probably trying to make decisions about the future based on things that happened in the past. Right? So you're saying like, okay, if this thing was approved, then I want to enable them to do this other thing, right? And that's like what event sourcing is for, is like making decisions about like what should be allowed in the future or like what should be available based on like what happened in the past,
Gotcha. And you said you can actually like, so you've already got that system, just the average developer already has that system in place, and they know they have all these statuses and all these date times. If they wanted, the way you describe verbs, they could actually just go ahead and start refactoring and pull that in and start small with an existing app, or
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, I think that's the move, right? It's like, so you would want to start firing some events for like, pick one of them, one of those things, like the approving, right? So like you just make an event called like, application approved, right? And so then you start firing your application approved events, and then you let that be the thing that changes your timestamp, right? So for now, you're just changing the data that already exists, right? But you're capturing events. That's the key. It's like capturing the events. Once you're capturing all the events and all your data is like actually represented in events, then you can like delete whole database tables. It doesn't even matter because you can reproject that data from events whenever you need it. Super powerful.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So anytime you come up with like even like doing like you come up with a bug and this thing is wrong, you can actually replay to get back to the exact state it was in before the bug happened.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's the stuff that's like mind blowing.
Right.
Is when you're like people hate throwing away data, and so you end up with all these like weird extra columns in your database that are just kind of like data that you might need one day. So you're like, oh, I guess I'll store this because like I might need it one day. But then you look at your database, 5 years into running this app, and you're like, oh man, there's all these columns that like we have, and I have like 10 years, or I guess it's 5 years in this example, 5 years of data on this one column that I've never queried once, but it sure would be a shame to delete like 1 million rows worth of this column because I have it. And so you just end up with all this data cluttering up your schema. With event sourcing, it's cool because you can just throw all that data into the events and then only project out the stuff you actually need because you have it all. It's all stored, but it's like hidden away and you don't have to look at it all the time.
That's awesome. Yes. Yeah, there's so many, especially old apps, like stuff we I've been doing this since like 2000. So like, I still have like databases from back then on some apps, and it's like, it's just full of crap. It's like,
yep. Yeah. I've got a client I'm actually starting with next week who, he's got me for 6 weeks, 2 days a week, and our goal is to basically like plan his migration of a like very old app that's using some like weird database as a service thing. Like it's like a no code SaaS database thing that. Anyway, we're just basically gonna write the events for like the main part of his app and like sort of like plan the migration and like, you know, write sort of like this like proof of concept migration for all of the main pieces of his app. And so we're just like pairing 2 days a week for the next 6 weeks to try and like knock it out. It's gonna be really exciting.
That's awesome. So as part of like the Thunk Dev, that's what you do. You come in and pair with existing people, or are you more like, I guess, like a full-on agency where they come to you and you just build everything out, or do y'all have a specific thing y'all target?
We do both, right? So like I think so John, my co-founder, is a product manager, and he's a very good product manager, and so that's really valuable in a few places. One is like if we're building MVPs, we're building them pretty smart, right? So if we're building like greenfield, ground up stuff, like we're building it pretty smart. We're building it in the right direction. We're not getting blocked that much. Like we're moving pretty quick. Recently, we had a client who like booked us for like a 10-week MVP thing, and we had their MVP scope finished in 2.5 weeks or something. So then we got to spend the rest of the time just like hitting all their like nice to have stuff that they wanted. So that was really cool. And then they've like re-signed for the past 3 months. So we've been hanging out with them for a while. That's awesome. But so we do that stuff. But I also have these like mentoring clients who I work with, which usually are like an hour a week or whatever, where it's just like we get on a tuple call once a week and like we hang out and you save a hard problem for me and we like work on it, you know? And so far I have 100% success rate turning those into like signed contracts of like actual work. Actually, one just got unsigned. It didn't get signed. It got agreed to. Then we sent them a contract, and they said, "We realize we don't need this work." So, pulling it back, we have like a 90% success rate.
And this is where you use verbs. You can go back in time.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so like in those cases, there's a lot of people who like are hiring us because they want me to review code with them. And as they work with me, I think they quickly learn that like we have other great people. So like Josh Hanley works with us a lot. He's like the second core contributor to Livewire behind Caleb.
Oh, nice.
And so if there are like gnarly, terrible Livewire, like if you're like in like Livewire hell, like we can get you out of Livewire hell, like, you know, like, and there have been plenty of cases where we've like pushed PRs to Livewire in the middle of building a feature for a client because like, you know, that's useful. So I'm not the only smart guy at Thunk, but I think in the Laravel community, like more people have heard of me and more people like, so that people often come in looking for me to review code for them and then quickly discover that there's like a lot more to it than just me reviewing your code.
Yeah. Well, how long have you been in the Laravel community? It's been a decade, hasn't it?
I've been here for a while, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like you're like one of the first ones too. Like I knew I was like really early back in the RC days, and I feel like you were back then.
I'm after you.
Okay.
You were definitely here before me. But like I'm kind of that next group right after.
You were like Laravel 4 or Laravel 3.5 or whatever.
No. I think the first Laravel I ever installed was 4.2.
4. Okay.
But by the time I was like at Titan and stuff, I think I was at Titan during 5. So that was kind of like my period.
Way back. And so you mentioned Livewire and Caleb. Does pretty much everything y'all do Livewire now, or is it y'all? Like, if you're doing anything greenfield, I guess you're sticking with.
If we have a choice, we're using Livewire. So far, no one has made us not use Livewire.
I love Livewire. It's amazing.
Dude, I mean, look, there is a number you can pay us to write React components, but it's a bigger number, let me tell you that.
Yeah, I haven't used React at all. Like, I'm probably the worst developer ever because
I've written a ton of React. I've written a ton.
You have.
I just don't like doing it. Yeah.
But I guess you like Alpine because.
Oh, I love Alpine, dude. Alpine is, I mean, I actually had a client recently who I built like a spreadsheet app for. It was like a Google Sheets clone kind of in Alpine.
Wow.
It was insane. It honestly shouldn't have been an Alpine app, and I think they actually ended up rebuilding most of it as a Vue app, which I think that is probably pushing Alpine too far to build like a full like piece of desktop software in the browser with Alpine. But it's really powerful, and I think not a lot of people are like really reaching in there and like making custom directives and like using some of the really powerful parts of it.
Yeah, I knew I barely touched the surface on anything I do with Alpine. And then like the Laravel news site, we rebuilt it all with Livewire, and you know, like I said, Livewire is just amazing. Coming from a Laravel PHP developer, it just makes JavaScript easy. That's what I love.
Talk to me about the Laravel news site. So do you write all the code for Laravel news site?
Yeah. So we got the designer Taylor uses for Laravel itself. They redesigned it in Figma, and then I hired Jason Baggs. He converted
the machine.
I know he spent like a day converting that over to you know, to a Livewire, basically a tall stack, and you know, built out all the main pages, and from there it's just kind of I've added on a few features, like we have a like an advertiser section, so they can go in and manage their Stripe payments and all that stuff. You know, add titles and logos and stuff. But everything else is just basically just a standard Livewire app with little components and cache everything.
Dude, Beggs is so funny. I was sitting next to Beggs in Nashville during Taylor's talk. And just every time like a website would come up on screen, he'd just kind of lean over and be like, I made that one. He makes everything.
He does, yes.
Yeah.
Everybody. He's like, if you need Tailwind to Laravel, like he's your man.
Yeah,
like,
or even like Figma to Laravel.
Yeah,
like he's really good at like I think he actually has Figma to tailwind.com or something.
I mean, that's perfect. Yeah.
Like if you need like, you know, I got a couple $1,000 burning a hole in my pocket and I want to like get these designs like turned into really, really good front ends in Tailwind, like he will crush that.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, you know, because for me, I'm not like the best CSS front end guy, but like I can make do and get stuff done. But you know, it's not ideal. And you know, he come in and you know everything it loaded way quicker than it did before. It's you know all this. I don't know. It's just super nice.
Yeah, we brought him in for a Statamic project that we did for a client because that's not really our bag. Like we love the Statamic guys, but like we're just like that's not what we're super strong at is like building Statamic websites. But we signed one, and so we can sell them. So we sold one, and we brought Beggs in to do it, and he did a great job.
That's awesome. Yes, yeah. You know, it's just amazing. Like the community itself. Like we have people all over doing everything. So it's always cool when you can like use the community to build stuff and to help you out and you know all. Well,
that that's the thing. It's like, dude, I can't think of a problem like of a technical problem that would need to get solved that I don't know someone from Twitter who I could like call up and get it solved. You know, like if we exist in this arena long enough, like you got a guy for everything.
Yes, and I was gonna say, and that's great for like newbies coming to Laravel. Like get out and make connections because you know, like you said, you might have a problem one day and. You know, all of a sudden, hey, Daniel knows the answer. Let me ping him, and he'll help me out.
You know what? I don't have a guy for SVG animation. Ooh. So if you are an SVG animation guy, or if you want to like stake your claim as like the SVG animation guy in the Laravel community, someone needs to do it.
What would you do with that though? Just like for like landing pages and
stuff? Yeah,
like
one day someone's gonna be like, hey, could we get this thing to animate in this way? And I'm gonna be like, yes, and I need to go ask around to find a guy who knows how to do that.
This is true. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot of. I don't have a lot of connections actually in the whole design community at all. Other than like you know, I used Taylor's guy and I used you know a few people in the past, but I don't have a lot of connections there. But then I know Jason, and he knows a bunch of people. And
well, that's you. Jason is the connect for like designers. Yeah, he's the plug.
Yes, that's amazing. All right, so next up on my list. No plans to merge.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about your podcast.
So
well, you said you have two now, but
I do. Yeah.
But No Plans to Merge was kind of the original.
Yeah. So No Plans to Merge. Well, actually, so before No Plans to Merge, there was a podcast called 20% Time.
Oh, that's right.
So back in the day when Caleb and I both worked at Titan, at Titan we had 20% time. So every Friday we could basically spend working on community stuff or open source or blogging or podcasting or anything that kind of like, benefited the company loosely by doing stuff in the community. And so Caleb and I started this podcast called 20% Time. And, it was just a little bit of like a broad, like roundup of what was happening in the community and our opinions on stuff. And we became really good friends. And eventually he left to go take a sabbatical that turned into him coming up with Livewire. And then like a year or two later, I left. And when he left, we had to like Titan owned 20% Time. And so we left it with them. And they've like turned it into something else since then. But at that point, we had to start another podcast. And so we called it No Plans to Merge because both of us we would open these pull requests to Laravel. And like we were kind of young and didn't really know what made a good pull request, I think, at that point. So we would open these pull requests to Laravel that were just like these big, ambitious things that were like really trying to make a name for ourselves. Like, and we would just sometimes get these one-line responses from Taylor that he just says, no plans to merge. And so that was the origin of the title. But yeah, I don't know how old that feed is, probably like 6 years we've been doing that podcast. And we did 20% Time for probably 2 years before that. But it's just a couple of bros podcasting. We're some of my best memories are of that podcast, and it's led to some really good stuff. I would say like probably every dollar I've made in the last 5 years has been a result of like podcast stuff.
Wow. That's amazing.
Oh, I guess not anymore. John came on and he started closing business. So I guess I'm making some money.
You got a real salesperson.
Yeah. But up until like Thunk became a multi-person operation, the podcast was a huge source of business. That's awesome. But yeah, now, we're both very busy, and so we don't do them as often as we used to, but we're in a good streak right now. We just did 2. The most recent one I think right now is a fully AI generated episode of the podcast. It's like a 3-minute episode. I asked ChatGPT to write an episode of the podcast, and then I trained. So 11 Labs has this like you can train a voice. And so I trained it on like 60 seconds of just me randomly talking into my MacBook mic. And then I uploaded one of Caleb's 5-minute Notes on Work podcast episodes. And so I trained a voice for me and Caleb, and I just gave it the script that ChatGPT wrote and generated an episode. It was wild.
That's awesome. That's what I should do for the YouTube Shorts. Is just
there you go, dude.
My voice, and then I can type out the thing, and then it don't have all my ums and ahs and all my other.
Well, I think you want to train those in. Ooh, so that's what I did in mine.
Makes it more real.
I intentionally like varied my like levels and excitement and whatever. But yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And then I've got this other podcast called Talking Businessly, which is with my co-founder, John. And so this used to be just like a weekly call that we did at the company where we just said like, do we have any money? Like, is the company okay? Like, do we need to go get jobs? But it was like, checking in on our goals, checking in on progress, making sure that the business was sound.
Right.
And we were like, this is kind of interesting. Like, I bet there's people who would want to hear this. And so we record it now. And we've also started like bringing in people when we have questions about specific things. We'll bring in sort of some subject matter experts to advise us.
That's sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. So
bring in the accountant, ask them about all the things you're not taking that you should be taking.
Yeah. So anyway, if you want to hear like a young company figure out how to not starve, you can go listen to Talking Business.
That's great. I like business podcasts anyway. Just everybody. I don't know. It seems like everybody in the Laravel community. I don't know. We there's a big bootstrapper community inside Laravel, and so there's a huge crossover between business and and development. And people, just pushing and trying to, make money on the side or start businesses. So I feel like there's definitely a good overlap between both of those.
Yeah.
So speaking of Laravel, I'm going to ask you a hard question.
Hit me.
All right, I'm going to picture my daughter. She's 15 and she's interested in being a developer and she says, I want to start with Laravel, what would be the first thing you would tell somebody that is not into programming and coming in? What should they learn, or what should they...
So I actually did this.
Oh, nice.
So one of Jacob, who's a junior at Thunk, 4 years ago, did not know how to write code. And every bit of code he has written, like, we basically like taught him to code. He worked on this game with John and I for like a couple of years during COVID. And then now he works at Thunk. So like we've been through it. But yeah, first things first, get a Laracast subscription. If you don't have a Laracast subscription, you can borrow mine until you start making some money, and then you get to pay Jeffrey a lifetime membership. But get a Laracast subscription. Jeffrey just released or is about to release
The Learning Laravel?
the new
It
Learning Laravel.
it just came
Is
out
it out
last
now?
week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing it per day, so it'll be
Okay.
30 days.
Yeah.
One a day, basically, for 30 days.
Yeah, so just go ahead and pipe that directly into your brainstem, and get moving on that. But yeah, I mean, the Laracast's learning on-ramp is like unrivaled. There is no better way to learn Laravel. So like, get on Laracast and then just start consuming Laracast. And then also don't not build things.
Right.
Like, you absolutely need to be building things. Pick something a little ambitious, something that you don't exactly know how to build yet. And then you just have to hold yourself to building it,
Exactly.
Like, just make a version of it that is what you can build, and then keep improving it over time. Ask for help, get on Twitter,
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. That's actually how I started. I was not a developer, but back many moons ago, I worked at a motorcycle dealership, and we wanted to bring our inventory online. So I was like, well, this sounds fun, so I'm going to learn how to do this. And then picked up PHP. I actually was looking at PHP and ASP, but PHP had cheaper hosting, so I was like, I'll do PHP. And so then it's the same way. It's just like a puzzle, and you're just working on it all day, just trying to figure out these little things. And then all of a sudden, after 6 months or a year, you have this little app, and it's like, oh man, I've like created this, and I love it. So now I'm gonna do this as my job.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how like so many people get their start that way. It's just like you find something to build that you're really interested in, and you'll just keep pushing and go toward that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny how much of the economy is just like companies that are really not interested in owning software, except they do happen to have a problem that requires them to own a little bit of software, and like, that's like a lot of our clients are just that, a lot of our clients are like people who have devs and need help with a hard problem. But a lot of our clients are just like, yeah, we sell fertilizer and we sell a lot of it. We sell so much of it that we needed custom software about it, and it's like, all right, well, hit me up, dog. Let's get to building. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just and that's the other cool thing is like, from your point of view, like you get to meet all these people outside of the Laravel world that are actually using Laravel, but they're selling fertilizer or
Well, I mean, I've probably onboarded into like 50 apps in the last 10 years. Like, I've seen, you got to learn the business quick. You got to learn like whatever business they're in. You got to figure out how their business works and all of that, and learn the code base and like build it and solve problems and get in and get out in a couple of months. And yeah, it's crazy.
It seems like it would take longer to learn the company than to actually build the software.
Yeah, you learn some techniques for like kind of learning while being productive, and so like, a lot of code bases you just get there and the tests don't pass.
Right.
You're just like, all right, well, in making the tests pass, which is like, I can't work in your app until the tests pass, right? So we're going to spend the first couple days like making your tests pass and like making your migrations run and stuff, right? And during that time, I'll be figuring out your domain and figuring out what your app does and asking questions. And, so there's kind of an onboarding process of like getting set up, learning what you're doing, getting your bearings, all of that. So over time, you get more efficient at like condensing, like identifying what you really need to know right now and asking those questions,
Interesting. Yes. All right. So next, I asked you about Laravel and as a beginner. Let's say I'm a Laravel developer and I don't know much about Alpine. What's the best route to learn and to get started with Alpine?
I mean, just build stuff. Like, okay, here's really what it is. Like, Alpine exists for a reason, right? So Alpine exists because Livewire exists. And there are a bunch of things, like the premise of Livewire was like, what if we didn't use JavaScript for any of this stuff, right? Like, what if we just got rid of all the JavaScript? You know, it's like this utopian vision of like, what if I could just only write PHP, right? But unfortunately, there's like some things that Livewire is bad for, because you don't want to make a full HTTP request to open a dropdown, right? And so find those things, right? The things where it's like, okay, this is something that needs to happen on the page, but shouldn't involve the server at all. Find the component and build it. So build a modal, build a dropdown, build whatever. And then once you've built a little bit and kind of like understand the basics, then go buy the Alpine UI components and go look at the headless components that Caleb has made, or Caleb and Jason made together. And like, they're actually doing like custom directives and stuff. Go look at that code, because like I think that's like the peak. That's what real Alpine peak performance looks like, right? And so like our code, our components like are styled after that, right? Where it's like, make something that's like really reusable. Like everything I build is like a sort of extracted blade component that like takes input to the blade component and then turns that into input for the Alpine component. It's
right.
Good stuff.
It's awesome. All right, let's just change the subject. What Mac apps do you use?
What Mac apps do I use? Okay.
Yeah, what's your favorite, like, you know, for everyday work, everyday development stuff? What are you using?
You mean like IDE wise?
Yeah, IDE.
I'm using VS Code. I'm a VS Code guy. I'm not. I know. As much as I like to hear the fans spin on my laptop, I can't get myself into PHP Storm. I honestly like Vim is very attractive to me. I'm like, honestly, I'd like to be a Vim guy. I think like I'd also like to be a Linux user, you know, but I think it might have to happen after I'm retired, because I'm just too productive on the Mac. That's the same way I feel about Vim. It's like, look, I'm already like, I got work to do. I can't learn this right now, but I would love to learn it. Say I'm a VS Code guy. It's pretty customized. It's pretty tweaked out, and like I've got a lot of things disabled, and hidden. A lot of the stuff from Caleb's course.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he has a whole ebook on making VS Code awesome, or
make VS Code awesome. Yeah, I think some of it's kind of out of date, but there's a lot of good stuff in there. He also makes it the Better PHP unit.
Oh, that's right.
Which is a plugin for VS Code, and it supports Pest now. It didn't used to, and so now it supports Pest, and so
and the good thing about that is like if you're in a test file, it'll just run the single test. Is that sort of
you can run a single test, you can run the whole file, you can run the whole suite. But the other great thing is it has a command KP. Command KP is just like run whatever the last thing you ran was. So that's great. So if you're not in the test file anymore, if you're like off in some other file and you want to rerun the same test, it's just command KP, command KP, command KP.
That's sweet. Yeah, that is awesome. And then what about for like your database stuff? You just use like
DB Engine.
DB Engine.
Although I guess Herd has
not Table Plus, like for the GUI.
Oh, sorry. So for the GUI, I use Table Plus. DB Engine is just like my MySQL service.
Yeah. I got you.
Which is made by the same people as Table Plus.
Yes, yes, it is.
But yeah, Table Plus is my database interface.
Are you using Herd, or are you?
Oh yeah, big time. All Herd all the time.
Yeah. So
which means I could get rid of DB Engine.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, I switched to Herd and just.
I already had DB Engine, so I didn't get rid of it when I installed Herd. But yeah, like I think that whole direction is like that's the way to go, right? Like Herd is fast. I never want to run another Docker container as long as I live, if I can help it. I don't know. Herd's super fast and super good. Also, like the mail catcher in Herd Pro is amazing.
Yes.
But yeah, and then I use Raycast to like generally like navigate around my Mac. I use, what other like dev tooling do I use? I use iTerm. I use ZSH for everything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's about it.
That's about it. That's all you need.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I use PHP Storm if it's a big project. I use VS Code if it's a small project, and I use Sublime Text if I'm just like goofing off.
Yeah.
And then IE Writer for the markdown our blog post articles and stuff.
Oh,
like
I use Obsidian. You use Obsidian?
No, Notion. Isn't it the same as Notion? Similar.
Nah, Obsidian's like local hosted notes. So it's like use Bear or something. What do you use for like
IE Writer?
IE Writer.
Yeah.
So you use that for your own notes, like your personal notes.
Mm-hmm. Or Day One. Have you ever used that?
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a journaling
Uh-huh.
app, but I put notes in there too all the time.
But yeah, so Obsidian is like that, but it's for I don't even know how to explain it, but it's like it's got sort of like node based stuff. So like you can tag any note, and then like you can sort of like explore notes by tag, and then you can like link tags end up getting linked to each other. So you see that like, hey, a lot of your notes that are tagged Laravel are also tagged whatever, PHP or client. So I tag every note with like what client it is and what project it is and stuff like that. So I don't have like a folder structure.
Right.
I just have one folder with like thousands of notes in it, but I just use tagging. And so everything's like super accessible. It's all keyboardy. It's nice.
I'll have to check that out.
You gotta play with
I haven't
Obsidian.
tried that one at all.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I haven't tried that one at all.
But yeah, that's about it. Oh, Arc browser. You using Arc?
No, I hate it.
You hate, dude. I hated it too. I think you should try again.
Do you think?
I think you should try again.
All right.
Yeah.
I might try to get I don't know, it just annoyed me.
Yeah, it annoyed me.
I don't like this at all.
It annoyed me, and then John kept doing it, and then John and Chris were both doing it. So like everyone who I talked to was using it. So I was like, I started to feel like the only guy who wasn't using it. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll use it. So I gave it another try, and it is actually good.
So I'm actually a Safari guy.
You're a Safari guy. See, I was a Firefox guy.
I'm a Safari as my primary, and then Brave as my dev, and then Arc I use when I film videos because I like the border.
Sexy, yeah.
And so that's the only time I use Arc. But I'm full-time Safari because I like how it can, it
Dude,
just
the
syncs
Arc
everywhere.
mobile browser is really good.
Is it?
Yeah.
Better than Safari?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because you can type.
I don't trust you.
You can type whatever, and it has a browse for me button that then like searches the thing on Google, takes the top 5 results, visits all of them, and then uses AI to summarize them and put them in a little thing for you. So like if you just search, let me see if I can. This is definitely not going to show up on camera, but I'm just going to do it. So I'm just going to go into the Arc search app here. Oh no, I have no service down here. Whatever, I'm not on the Wi-Fi. But like, I did it for like Laracon India before I went to Laracon. Speaking of which, peep the shirt. What's up?
Tinkerwell.
Hey, shout out
Tinkerwell's
Bianco.
number 1 right here.
Shout out Marcel. Before I went to Laracon India, like I needed the dates for something, so I just searched Laracon India and press enter, and it had like all the information I wanted, which is like where it is, what dates, what the location was, and then like who's speaking. Like
that's sweet.
It was sick. It was like you can do it for anything. Like if you could search like how like Google kind of puts something at the top where they're like trying to guess what you want. It's like if you search like Orioles Yankees, it'll if there's a game ongoing, it'll like find the score or whatever. Like Arc is kind of like taking that to a whole other level where it kind of builds you a custom page that just like includes everything it thinks you want.
That's awesome. Yeah,
it's very cool.
Have you tried that other search engine yet? It's the paid one, Kanji, or I don't know. I keep hearing about it. It's like it's supposedly better than Google because it like gets rid of all the spam, but it is like a paid app.
Kanji paid search engine. Let's see.
I might have their name wrong.
Kagi?
That might be it.
Kagi. No ads, fast, personalized results. The search engine you deserve. Okay, this is cool. All right, I'll play with it.
Well, I haven't tried it. It might be terrible.
Well, fortunately it's paid.
So, yes.
Well, cool. Hell yeah.
That sounds good. Anything else? Or
anything else on the list?
Let me check my list.
Well, so yeah, I mean, you've got this new space.
Yes.
We should talk about your new space.
Yes.
We're in it.
This is true. We should talk about the new space. So,
So you signed the lease this morning.
Yeah, I came here at 8:30.
You came here, signed the lease, then came and picked me up from the airport.
All right. So the backstory here is Daniel texted me like 2 days ago. He's like, I'm coming to Charlotte
For like 5 hours.
For 5 hours. I have a 5-hour layover. Let's meet up and do something. And I was like, okay. And then my other buddy was like, hey, there's, the day before that, there was like this co-working space. He's like, oh, come and take a look at it. So I came and looked at it, and they have this whole recording room and everything. And I was like, you know what? He's coming. Why don't we do like a face-to-face podcast or interview? I was like, I've never done that in my life, so it'd be fun. And then, so I came this morning, signed the lease, and I got an office just down the hallway here. And that's going to be my new recording studio once I get it decked out into everything. It's got a cool brick wall behind. It'll be like the backdrop of my videos.
No, this is a sweet little spot. Yeah. And they've got, you like that? A little ASMR for you. Got the dirty chai, got the coffee going.
And the coffee comes with inspirational messages. It says, do not fear failure, but rather fear not trying. 100%.
There you go.
It's called the Wandering Cup coffee. So if you're ever in Gastonia, come to the coffee shop.
Hell yeah.
Good place.
But yeah, in India, so Charlotte and I, my wife and I, we like dipped out and went to this like other hotel at the end because we wanted to, and it was like downtown. But this place was called The Manuscript, and someone had like art directed the hell out of this hotel because everything was like a little like writing pun or whatever. And so like the little like door hanger for your room that was like, please clean my room or whatever. But it was like, please proofread my script or whatever. And everywhere you went, there was like little writing puns. But
that's awesome.
It looked just like this. Just like little handwritten stuff everywhere.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. It does look like real handwriting, but I guess it's printed on there. But yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Hard to say.
But yeah, so we've going back, got the office. I'm gonna buy some stuff for it. I've already got the camera, so now I just got to get different lights and some
shelves.
Yeah, shelves. Something to make it not echoey, and then we're good to go. And so maybe next week I'll be.
You should see how echoey it actually is. You might not actually have as big of a problem as you think you do.
This is true.
These drop ceilings are not that bad.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, I'll be setting that up, and then I guess I should video me setting it up into like a little vlog. Laravel News vlog, right?
Meta content.
Yes,
meta content, baby.
You could never have too much content.
Yeah, well, I mean, Aaron's doing it, right? Aaron's gotten heaps and heaps of content out of setting up his new studio.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I like that. So maybe we'll do that.
Yeah,
I did get some B-roll this morning of me picking him up at the airport, driving through the rainy Charlotte.
Nice.
Interstate.
Lovely.
So we'll just take parts of this and turn it into.
Yeah, we'll all chop it up together into the vlog.
Me waving you goodbye this afternoon.
You ever watch like comedy specials and like there'll be like a little bit of B-roll of like just them like getting pizza before the special or whatever, and then they'll walk out on stage. That could be like how the podcast goes. It's like you picking me up at the airport, and then like we get a little coffee. We're talking about the pharmacy that used to be here or whatever.
We should do that.
Chop it together.
I don't think my editing skills are good enough for that yet, but
I believe in you, Aaron.
We can try.
Yeah.
It's like building your first Laravel app. You just gotta
send it.
Yeah, you just gotta do it, and then if it sucks, it'll be all right. You'll get better with time. But
hell yeah,
I don't have anything else.
Let's call it.
Let's call it a day. So thanks for tuning in to our first ever interview show with Laravel News, and maybe more people will come to Charlotte and come visit me.
Dude, this is the move. Get thee to Gastonia.
Yes. You come to Gastonia and I'll interview you, and you can market your packages and all your commercial products.
Yeah, if you're flying American Airlines to basically anywhere, just like go through Charlotte, give yourself a little layover, and get on the pod.
Yeah, I'll come pick you up at the airport. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Hell yeah.
The Eric Uber.
The Eric Uber. Hell yeah.
Oh, but sounds good. Well,
all right, buddy.
Thank you for coming on, and
thanks for having me on.
For spending the day with me.
Alrighty.
All right.